tried to feed her dinner, and Shauna said, don't give her anything else because it's going to send it through the roof. So, and on top of that, she's had a fever of 104, 105. So a lot going on with her. So she's home. Somebody help me. The prayer alert. Marcia Kevich's grandbaby was born yesterday. That is Krista, their daughter's first baby. His name is Alexander, and they're calling is Alexander. Krista and their last name. I can't think of their last name, but anyway, he's the fourth. He's Alexander the fourth, so they're calling him Ivy. Ivy for fourth. Anyway, he was born hypoglycemia, which is not a high blood sugar, but a low blood sugar. And so Marcia called this afternoon. Yesterday's it was in the 30s, and they couldn't get it out of the 30s. It's now up in the 60s. He's adjusting. He's out of the NICU. Things are looking well. She appreciated the prayers on that one. If you heard, you may not have heard, I was in the hospital on Monday. That prayer alert didn't go out? I don't know why that didn't go out. Anyway, I was at the association office and began to feel very, very dizzy. I ran into a wall and started sweating and couldn't figure out what was going on. So I drove home, because that's what you do when you're dizzy. And I drove to the church and then decided to, vomit all over the church property out there. And so I drove home from there and then for the next 2.5 hours continued to do that same process. Get up, sit down, repeat. Things were dizzy, blurry. They said it was a severe case of vertigo, and so I ended up going to the emergency room. They couldn't find a vein because I was dehydrated, even though I drink gallons of water every day. And so anyway, I'm doing much better today, I think. I've been so busy this afternoon, I don't know if I'm doing better. But the witch doctor, I did it, and it worked. I'll give you credit. I called the witch doctor earlier, and I said, what do you got for vertigo? Because the hospital ain't got nothing. And she said, do this, do this, do this. Grab your left ankle. Yeah, no kidding. Ooh. So anyway, but I'm not getting on any ladders or anything anytime soon. So anyway, so y'all just, I don't know what happened. It was just a severe case of vertigo to the point everything was blurry and spinning around me massively. It was like a really bad roller coaster that wouldn't end. So anyway, so that's been going on. Lindsay's been sick. Dorcas, thank you. I knew there was one. Dorcas fell this morning. She was leaving the Bells over there by Best Buy, hit a curb, a parking curb, broke both wrists, and apparently severely. She has had surgery this afternoon. If they could not repair the damage on the inside, she will have those pins on the outside on both wrists. So here's what I need. She will be in the hospital for a couple days. I talked to Diane. When she gets out, we are going to provide meals for them for the first 2 or 3 days. If you can do one of those meals, please see me afterward tonight. I want those lined up. I don't know when it's going to be. It's going to be the first day she comes home. My guess is surgery on Wednesday. It may even be Monday because of the weekend. We'll see. But what I want to be able to do is say, okay, you're the first one on the list. I need it tonight or tomorrow night because I know they're coming home. If you can help me with doing one of those meals, come see me. It's not a lot. It's Diane and Dorcas, just a small something, but want to provide ministry. It's a great opportunity, church. Listen to me. It's a great opportunity to provide ministry to somebody who doesn't go to church. Let's just leave it at that and move on. And if you can help me, you can come see me. Okay? So thank you for reminding me of that. We got that one this morning. I was, at that point, still too dizzy to drive. I did call and pray with Dorcas over the phone, but I was just feeling too bad earlier today to even drive to the hospital. So, but I am feeling much better this evening. So, anyway, anything else tonight? Yes, ma'am.
I need to put a lady named Bertha on the clear list. She is my children's grandmother's mother. She had some kind of a bad pneumonia. She's in the hospital, and they really don't expect her to live.
Okay. Can you make sure you fill out a prayer card for me?
I don't know what her last name is.
That's okay. Just put Bertha and then put your name on it, and we'll make sure it gets listed that way. Mm-hmm. But thank you. Okay, let's pray together. Heavenly Father God, we thank you so much for tonight and just the opportunity to come together into your house and to to worship, to lift our songs and our voices in praise to you. God, we thank you for who you are. And God, as we talked about a little bit last week, our greatest thought we can ever have is what we think when we think about you. And so, God, help us to do that tonight. Help us just think on you for a little while tonight. We pray for these names that have been mentioned tonight, for Lindsay and for Bertha, for Irene and for Kurt, and for Dorcas, God. Every situation so drastically different. So different in their places of life and in their ages and in their need. But God, we know that you are the same God who meets the 4-year-old little girl with diabetes. You're the same God who meets the need of the senior adult who falls in a parking lot or the senior adult who battles cancer. God, we ask that you meet every one of them right in the midst of their need. I pray that you be with those caregivers of all of those folks we've mentioned. God, as they minister and labor and care for. I pray for our services tonight. God, that you would be honored, that you would be glorified tonight, that our voices might be pleasing to your ears, not in their tone, in their correct note, but God, in our heart, that we would sing to you and we would lift our voices to you. As we look at your word tonight and we understand what compassion is really all about, God, help us to, God, just understand the greatest act of compassion is not how we care for someone. It's how you cared for us, that you saw a need and you acted upon it. God, I thank you for the men who right now are standing out there by those grills and have been out there all day long. Those who have been in and out today and going to work and coming by to raise money for Miss Hay. God, I pray for her tonight. God, I pray that you would continue to use the chemo and the doctors to treat and bring healing to her body. And pray tomorrow that she will feel loved, not because we raised money, but because people responded because of what she's going through, and they'll feel that compassion that is shown. We just ask you to be with us tonight as we continue to sing. Again, God, you be glorified, you be honored. You're the one who's worthy. You sit on the throne tonight and tomorrow night and the next night and the next night. And for all of eternity, you are on the throne, and it is you that we glorify. And it is in your name, Jesus Christ, that we pray. Amen.
All right, let's stand as we continue to lift our voices to praise God. We're here to meet with Him. We're here to just take in everything that He wants us to learn. So let's do that with this next song. I'm here to meet with you. Come and meet with me. I'm here to find you. Reveal yourself to me as I wait. You make me strong as I know. Draw me to your arms as I stand and I sing your praise. You come and you fill this place. I'm here to meet with you. Come and meet with me. I'm here to find you. Reveal yourself to me as I wait. You make me strong as I know. Draw me to your arms as I stand and I sing your praise. You come and you fill this place. Won't you come and you fill this place? You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown. My feet may fail, soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine. Grace, your grace abounds in deepest waters. Sovereign hand, and be my guide. The feet may fail and fear surrounds me, never fail, and you won't start now. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you will call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you will call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander. My faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine.
After church tonight. Y'all are dismissed. Thank you. Or youth and adults. Everybody runs out of church. We're all done. My professor didn't ever have to tell me that twice, man. It was like, that was it. Hey, man. Okay, adults, I can almost see you. I can almost see you in the back. I can almost see you. I see two. I see two coming this way. Yeah, there you go. There we go. Two people. And they're not even going to sit together. Look at that. He's like, you left me for 2 weeks. You can sit by yourself, visitor. Anyway, if you have your Bibles, Luke chapter 10 tonight. Luke chapter 10. Let me just give you a heads up over the next couple of weeks. Next Wednesday night, we will move Wednesday night worship into the sanctuary. We are in the sanctuary. We're going to be moving it into the fellowship hall is what we're going to be doing, because Debbie needs the next 6 weeks in here to get ready for the Christmas program. And we were going to try to kind of do it early and still do, and it was just too much, and I didn't want to stress her out. So we're going to have music and all that. We're just going to kind of do it acoustic style in the fellowship hall after dinner. We'll move some tables and kind of get it set up, and that the kids won't even be in there with us. They'll be in here the full hour starting next Wednesday night. 2 weeks from tonight, the 16th of November, I won't be here, but if y'all can, we'd like to get it decorated for Christmas. We used to do like a whole Sunday night. It doesn't take us 15 minutes when everybody works together. And really what we're talking about is hanging the green in here. Rita, and you'll be here if you can kind of maybe direct that. We'll get that stuff down this week or before then. Get the wreaths hang up in here and the greenery across the top in here. If we can get that done on the 16th after church that night, just so you can plan on staying an extra 10 minutes or so, hang it up there real quick and we'll be in good shape. So that's next couple of weeks. I think it'll be in the bulletin, and we'll keep announcing that. So we'll be in. No, I'll be back by the 16th. I don't know why we're doing it the 16th. I'll be back by then because I won't be here the 9th. Yeah, I won't be here the 9th. So the 16th. So I'll be here for that. So that'll be good. The 9th we'll be in Alabama, and so y'all be praying for us. My mother-in-law has a list of things for me to do for her. There's nobody left up there to help her, so I'm going to try to fix as much as I can the week I'm up there, which is fine because it gives me something to do instead of stare at the dead trees in Alabama. Luke chapter 10 tonight. We have been looking at the roads of the Bible, and I'm not trying to say that there's something magical, mystical, or spiritual about the idea of roads, but I do find it interesting that as we go through the Gospels, and we're focusing really on the Gospels, but throughout the Bible, many things happen along the road. And we looked last week, the word road means a journey. And so, in one sense, I think we could apply that these things happened as Jesus is journeying with the disciples in this journey of faith. That we're on a faith journey. And there's ups and downs and lefts and rights and curveballs and, days where we think today's going to be, I'm going to get this, and this done, and it's going to be a great day. And then a curveball comes. That ever happen to anybody? Anybody have your day planned, and then something comes along, and you don't get anything on the... That was Monday for me. We had prayer meeting at the office, and so we were done, and I had to call the school to get prices on the youth mission trip, and we were kind of doing some debriefing from the Sunday night event we had, and all that kind of stuff. All of a sudden, I started feeling bad, and I ended up in the emergency room, which is not what I wanted to do because I had class to do, and so I had planned on taking yesterday off, which I don't normally take a day off very much anymore, and I did. I took yesterday off because I was on the couch. I found out me and Valium, me taking a Valium means me is asleep. That's what I found out yesterday. And I take it, and then about 20 minutes later, it's 4 hours later. And they gave it to me in the hospital, and I woke up and I said, baby, they need me to take that pill. And she said, Matt, you took that pill hours ago. And I said, no, baby, that pill, I didn't take it. She goes, you gave a thumbs up to the nurse. I said, I don't remember any of that, So life just kind of happens sometimes. And so that's this road, this journey we're on. We think it's going to go one way. We think we're called into ministry to do one thing. And then all of a sudden, God sends us a different direction or a different place or whatever it might be. And so this idea of what happens on the roads. And we've looked at the road of worship and the road of trouble. And so tonight we come to the road of compassion. It is Brian's working on it. Nope, it's still ringing back on me. The road of compassion in Luke chapter 10. It's a familiar text. Last week we looked at a true story. Tonight it's a parable. And so look with me in verse 30. Luke chapter 10. It says, and Jesus said to him, this is following a question. Let me just back up to 25. Let's read it in context. And behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tested him. We see what they're trying to do here, right? We're going to catch Jesus in a little gotcha kind of thing, and we're going to get him to give us the wrong answers, and we have something to get him on. Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law? What is your reading of it? And so he said, well, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. So he understood the law, right? It wasn't a misunderstanding. And Jesus said, you have answered rightly. Do this and you will live. There you go. There you go. But he, wanting to justify himself, there's a problem there. You can't justify yourself. God justifies us. We can't do that himself. Said to him, and who is my neighbor? Not the question you're going to want to ask Jesus, by the way, because he's going to give you an answer, and here's the answer he gives in the form of a parable. Jesus said, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, who stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a certain priest came down the road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Likewise, a Levite, this is of the priestly line, not a priest, but of the priestly line, when he arrived at the place, came and looked and passed by on the other side. But a certain, what? Samaritan. Now, I can tell you, as Jesus is telling the story right here, when they heard there was a priest, they probably went, he's the one who did it. He passed on by. There was a Levite, good guy, Jewish guy, pure, tribe of Aaron, he's going to pass on by. And when Jesus said, but then a Samaritan, the hairs on the back of their neck would have stood up at the thought that a Samaritan might be the good guy in the story. Let's see what happens. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, there's that journey again, right? He's on his own journey of faith, came where he was. It came where the guy was. And when he saw him, he had compassion. So he went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine, and he set him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. On the next day when he departed, he took out the 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, take care of him, and whatever more you spend when I come again, I will repay you. You're not going to charge him, I'm going to pay you. So which of these 3 do you think was the neighbor to him who fell among the thieves? And he said, he who showed mercy on him. Then Jesus said, go and do likewise. What Jesus just told the Jews was, good, go and be like a Samaritan. Another cringing moment. So what does compassion demand of us? Here they are, 3 points. And if you're taking notes, we didn't get it on the back of the prayer sheet. It's just been a crazy day around here. So what I have is I have 3 points, and then I have 8 life lessons we can learn from this. 3 points and 8 life lessons. We'll move through this tonight. Number 1 is this: compassion demands desire. Compassion demands desire. The first, a priest, was going the same way. Notice there's so many little interesting things about the text. A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. Now, Jericho was north of Jerusalem, so it's not talking about down from north to south. It's talking about from uphill to downhill. So he's traveling from Jerusalem, going north, downhill to Jericho. This was known as a very difficult, dangerous road to travel, where thieves were always on. So this was not really it wasn't a shocker that he was attacked on the way to Jericho. So Jesus, again, is using something that they can identify with. Oh, well, he's on his way to Jericho. We all know what's going to happen. He's going to get mugged. And that's exactly what happened. And he fell among thieves. Notice it's more than one. Who stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, departing, leaving him half dead. Not half alive, but half dead. And then it says, now by chance a certain priest came down that road. Came down, again, that road. This priest is traveling as well from Jerusalem to Jericho. He's traveling in the same direction as the first guy. So if I'm traveling in the same direction, it's more convenient for me to help, right? Because I'm what? I'm going in the same direction. Now, you've heard of Uber drivers. This is a new kind of thing out there, and you can sign up to be an Uber driver, and it alerts your phone so if somebody needs a ride, and you can accept or decline it. If you accept, you go pick them up, and you take them, and then they pay you in this whole thing. But you can tell Uber, I'm going from Lakeland to Gainesville. I'm going there, so if anybody's looking for a ride, I'm going there anyway. And then they try to match you with people who maybe have put in, hey, I'm in Lakeland, I'm going to Gainesville, or I'm in Lakeland and I'm going halfway to Gainesville, and then they'll pair you with somebody that's in halfway to Gainesville to go all the way to Gainesville, so you get paid your entire trip all the way up to Gainesville. Well, they're going, and the whole point of that convenience thing is, hey, I'm going anyway, so I might as well be a help to somebody along the way. Well, that's what the priest was. He was going the same way. It wouldn't have been that big of a deal for the priest to say, come on, man, I'm going to the same place you were. But he had no desire to help. The second man was a Levite. He's from the tribe of Aaron, would have been in the priestly line, although obviously not serving as a priest. It says that he came upon that place. A better translation to this one is that he came upon the opportunity to help. The opportunity to make a difference in this man's life. Have you ever had the opportunity to help somebody? Maybe you chose, maybe something happened and you didn't, but you had that opportunity to help. I was at a red light yesterday, 2 days ago, I guess before I started feeling so bad. Maybe it was Sunday, I don't know. And there was somebody who was needing some food. Well, I didn't have any money on me. I didn't have any gift cards on me. So I was looking for one of my business cards. And I was just going to say, hey, if you'll come to the church, then I can get you some food. I've got plenty of food at the church. I don't have any with me. I had an opportunity to help that person. What I failed to have on me was a business card. Or a pen to write my name and my church information. So I've got to remember to put some business cards in my car so I can say, hey, I want the opportunity. I can't give you cash. I don't have, you usually have cash on me, but hey, if you'll come to the church, I can get you food, I can get you help, or, we can try to meet some needs when we have. The second man in the story had an opportunity to help, but he had no desire to help. I had a desire to help, I just didn't have what I needed to help the man. So that's the first one, is the priest. He's going in the same direction. That would have been easy for him to help. Second one had the opportunity to help. He chose not to. And then thirdly was the Samaritan. This guy, hated by the Jews. Most Samaritans would have probably went, you're a Jew, you hate me because I'm a Samaritan, if you don't know, is a half-breed. They were the ones who came back from Babylon, and they were half Jew and half Babylonian. They lived in Samaria. They were called Samaritans. Well, the Jews hated them because they were the unfaithful ones who had intermarried while they were in captivity in Babylon. And so they were hated by the Jews. Samaritans hated them. Samaritans worshipped on their mountain, and Jews worshipped on their mountain, and the whole thing. Remember, Jesus met the Samaritan woman. Is that same in Samaria? Well, he has the opportunity to help. But he has something the other two didn't. He had a desire to help. And most Samaritans would have said, or what they would have thought is that most Samaritans would have said, you're a Jew, just die. And most Jews, if they were walking along the road and there was a Samaritan laying there, they would have surely said, you're a Samaritan, you're a half-breed, just die. And so that's what normally would have happened, and that's what they would have been expecting. They probably were expecting Jesus to say, but then a Samaritan came along and he was a half-breed and he didn't care about Jews and he left him to die. But then the Pharisee came along and saved the day. And they would have been like, there's the hero, the Pharisee. But what happens is the Samaritan ends up becoming the hero of the story. The question is, what opportunities are we looking for? And maybe the better question is, do we have the desire to meet needs when they come up? At work, at school, in our day-to-day? Or are you like one of the first two, that when opportunity arrives, you intentionally, another interesting thing, verse 31, it says, a certain priest came by, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So if this is our Samaritan over here, he's walking, he sees the Samaritan, and it's like, oh, look, there's a butterfly. Let me walk over here. He intentionally avoids the situation. And then the Levite does nearly the same thing, passes by on the other side. But then it says the Samaritan, and I got a feeling, just taking a guess, that he says when he saw him, he went to him. See the difference between the reaction of the Jews and the Samaritan? The Jews intentionally went the opposite direction from the problem, where the Samaritan went straight to the problem. That's the desire. See, the priest and the Samaritan, well, maybe I didn't realize they were so bad. If I had known they were that bad, maybe I would have done something about it. Well, the first way you would have known whether it was bad or not is to do what? To go over to him. And that's exactly what the Samaritan does. See, the first thing that compassion demands for us is a desire to do something about it. We have to have a desire to help people, no matter who they are. It doesn't matter their skin color, doesn't matter their economic status, and the tough one sometimes, it doesn't matter what story they tell us. Because in church, and I've been in church offices now for a long time. Seems like a really long time. I got to see Dr. Kitchen. I don't know if you made it around, but Dr. Kitchen was there. He's the president of the school that I graduated from the first college I graduated from. And he saw me and he said, oh boy, what you doing here? And got to meet him. And I didn't get a free coffee mug the other night. And I said, Dr. Kitchen, why don't I get a free coffee mug? I'm still paying student loans off for your school. He said, you don't get a free coffee mug because you're still paying on your student loans. So I said, oh, I see how that goes. He said, but you come up and see me in the summer and I'll get you all the BBI stuff you can wear. It ain't been BBI for 50 years, yeah. And I said, listen, I know you got an old FBTC, which is the college. I graduated from Florida Baptist, and theological college. So anyway, we were kidding around. There has to be a desire to do something. There has to be I want to help people. And it doesn't matter their skin color or how much money they have or they don't have. It's just how can we help people? So compassion demands desire. Secondly, compassion demands action. Action. Compassion is not, I guess it can be a noun, but I want us to understand this. Compassion in the Christian sense is action. It's a verb. It is something we do. That's why we put it on the back of our green, and we call them our compassion shirts. And we wear our compassion shirts when we're doing compassion work, like handing out the fruit at the fruit market. Just a plug for that, next Thursday morning. If you don't know, that's going to be happening next Thursday morning. The Samaritan was on a journey. Okay? It says in the text, but a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, he was going somewhere. We don't even know that the first two were really going anywhere, other than the fact they were walking down the same road. The Samaritan, on the other hand, was journeying. He had a destination in mind, but he was willing to stop his plan to minister and care for this Jewish man along the side of the road. He didn't put himself ahead of the man. See, that's what the first two did, didn't they? The priest, he's going, maybe he's thinking church stuff. I got to do church stuff. I got to do church stuff. I'm going to the temple in Jericho. I got to go minister to those people. I got to do this thing. I got to write this sermon. I got to sing. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to have the staff meeting. But then there was this person over here that needed him. But I'm in task mode. I'm in church mode. I got to do this, and I'm guilty. I fall into that mode very, very quickly. If I take time to run here and run there and run here and run here and do all that stuff that's really important stuff, then all of a sudden at the end of the day I'm going, I haven't written a sermon and I don't know what I'm going to do, so I got to stay in task mode, and sometimes task mode keeps me bottled up in my office instead of out maybe where sometimes I need to be sometimes. Well, the Levite had the same problem. This man did a number of things. I can find 5 things in the text. This man that was in action. Number 1, it says he was filled with compassion. He was filled with compassion. That is, you almost think this guy had just this compassionate spirit about him. This wasn't something, I would guess too, even though it's a parable, if this was a real story, this is something this guy did on a regular basis. He didn't seem to waver. He didn't seem to hesitate. He didn't seem to question. He didn't go over and ask the guy if he was Jewish. Nothing. It says that he went to him and bandaged his wounds. Notice he bandaged his wounds before he ever put him on his donkey or horse and took him into the inn. Right there, in plain sight of everybody, this Samaritan is bandaging the wounds of a Jewish man. What does that mean? He is most likely touching blood. And to touch someone's blood will make you ceremonially unclean. The Samaritan was not concerned about his spiritual condition in that moment in light of the temple. He was concerned about the welfare, the health of this man. So he was filled with compassion. He drew near to him. He came to the person. I think that's significant. How many times do we work at keeping things at a distance, keeping people at a distance? Because if we let them inside and they hurt us or we hurt them, then it hurts so deep. And so it's sometimes easier to keep people at a distance. He cared for him, number 3. He cared for him right there, bandaging his wounds. His wounds, that Greek word, it's the word trauma. Sound familiar? He had trauma. When I work at the hospital, my pager sometimes goes off and it says trauma alert, ETA 14 minutes. What is it telling us is coming in? It's a really bad accident most of the time, motor vehicle accident. Really, really bad accident has happened somewhere. They're air flighting him in. It's really, really bad. And so it activates a number of teams within the hospital to be on ready. And if you're ever in the emergency room and they've activated a trauma alert, you'll see a guy sitting there with a portable X-ray machine. You'll see a person there with a cart full of drugs. You'll see somebody with a code cart, and they're just standing there doing nothing. And you think, why aren't they doing something? That's because in 14, 18, 20 minutes, a trauma is going to come flying in the door, and they want everything ready to take care of that one. That's a trauma. That is where we get this word wounds from. Right here in the Greek, the word wounds is trauma. This guy was badly beaten, half dead. It was bad. And yet this guy stopped and began to bandage his wounds. He was being an EMT right there on the scene. Fourth thing he did, he took him to a place of refuge and protection. He didn't bind his wounds and leave him laying there. Well, there you go. I've kind of stopped the bleeding. He bound his wounds. Now, this is amazing. It says he bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and water, and he set him on his own animal and then took him to an inn and took care of him. At any point, we probably would have looked for the point that we got off the hook, right? You know? Well, I've bandaged your wounds. That's good enough. You're going to be okay. You're good. You're okay. Give me a thumbs up, right? And then we go on our way. Or maybe we put him on our animal, we get him to the inn, and we're like, okay, you good now? I really, really got to go. No. He went so far as to get him to the inn and then took care of him some more. But I also want you to see that he put him on his own animal. What does that mean this man just started doing? Walking. He didn't get on his animal and say, no, just come with me, man. Come with me, come on. He sacrificed his time, his own health, his strength to put this guy on the horse and then walk himself. And then the fifth thing he does, I've listed more than 5 here, but the fifth thing that I want to point out was he paid the price for his needs. Look at the text. He said on the next day, so he bandaged his wound, took care of him, and then the next day, so he spent like 24 hours with this guy, right? When he departed, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, take care of him, and whatever you spend, when I come again, I will repay you. Not, I'm going to make his down payment. He's probably got money. He'll take care of it himself. Nor do we hear in the text, I'm going to take care of everything and you can pay me back later. He paid for the man's debt then and then paid for the man's debt in the future. Do y'all see it? When Christ pays for our sin debt on the cross, He pays for our debts now and later. Jesus is like going, Heavenly Father, I'm going to pay for those sins now at salvation, but I've got them covered in the future too. You see, we are the man beaten by the world, aren't we? I mean, the world just likes to beat us up. The world likes to beat anybody up. The world likes to beat up anybody that it doesn't have any use for. You ever notice that? Lost or saved, it doesn't matter. Look at the entertainment industry. People that 5-10 years ago were the $10 million a movie guy, girl, they can't get a movie today because there's somebody new. They will use them up, and when they're done, what do? They beat them up and leave them on the side of the road, and they're nothing, right? Very few actors or actresses have been able to withstand the test of time. Harrison Ford is one. You know, it just seems like whatever the guy does. But even lately, some of his stuff's been like, maybe you should have stopped at Indiana Jones, you know. So, but the world does that. It beats us up. It leaves us half dead. And then the world passes us by. They don't really care anymore. Oh, I've gotten everything I can out of you, so I'm just going to keep on going. But compassion demands action. It demands that we do something about it. We can't just sit there and watch people die, watch people hurt, watch people suffer. We've got to do something about it. Third thing is compassion demands transformation. Transformation. The Samaritan had every reason not to show compassion. Every reason. And nobody would have blamed him because the Jewish people were so hateful to the Samaritans. The Samaritan could have said, if only you had been nicer to my people. If only you would allow us to worship in the temple with you. If only you would accept me because my great-great-grandfather happened to be in Babylon and happened to intermarry. That has nothing to do with me. You're holding against me something that I had nothing to do with. So if you had been nicer to me, I would be nicer to you. That's not what he did. It requires a transformation. It's kind of what we need as a country, doesn't it? I think sometimes we still blame everybody else for things that happened generations ago that we had nothing to do with. I've shared with you all my sociology class in college. We had a black substitute, and he came in, he kept saying, when we were slaves, when we were slaves, when we were slaves, when we were slaves. He said, do you have any questions? And I went, I got a question. And of course, everybody in class was like, oh, Lord, here goes Matt, you know. And he said, yeah. I said, when were you a slave? Tell me about it. I want to hear your story. What do you mean? I said, well, when were you a slave? He said, well, I'm sorry, I'm not getting it. That's what you have said repeatedly in this class. When we were slaves. When we were slaves. When we were slaves. Tell me when you were a slave. He said, well, I never was a slave. And I said, you know what? I was never a slave owner, so can we just move on? I think there just comes a point where we have to say, look, the past is the past. I've never owned a slave. I have never intentionally been, held something against somebody. I may have done it because somebody hurt me and that's my fault. But because somebody's a certain color, never going to happen. Never has happened. So let's just move on instead of blaming each other for all the sins of generations past. But that's exactly what we're doing, by the way. We are killing each other. We're beating each other up right now as a nation over stuff that happened generations ago that nobody today was alive to ever see happen. And that's exactly what we're doing. The Samaritan had the choice to do that. The lesson for America is to be the Samaritan. I'm gonna value your life no matter what color you are. It doesn't matter if you're a black life or a blue life or a white life or whatever. Your life matters, and I'm going to care for you. That's what the Samaritan. Our lesson as America ought to be. We ought to be the Samaritan to everybody. He was willing to change the relationship. Do you see that? The relationship, for history's sake, said, don't help the guy laying on the ground. But the Samaritan said, I'm going to change it. I'm going to go through a transformation because he did not look at what the relationship was. He looked at what the relationship could be. I wonder if when this Samaritan stops by, he thinks, you know what? Everybody in my family tells me not to do this. Everybody in his family would tell them not to accept the love from me. But maybe if I help him and he thanks me, then maybe that will be the beginning of healing of a nation. Wonder if maybe that couldn't happen on our watch today. Because Jesus did the same thing for us. Jesus is looking back and looking at the world, and he sees us beaten up by the world, left by the world, half dead by the world. And he says, I'm going to show compassion because I want to go down because I don't care how the relationship was. Jesus sees what the relationship can be with us. Because Jesus looks at us, me and you, and he knows what the relationship can be. And so he comes in our time of despair, in our time of need. He comes to us when the sin of our life has left us on the side of the road. And he binds our wounds. He leads us to refuge. And then he cares for the needs of the future. While walking home from school, Mark noticed a boy ahead of him had a number of things in his arms. And he stumbled upon the ground and dropped just about everything in his hands. Mark hurried up to the boy's side, helped him collect his belongings. He noticed he had a lot in his hand, a baseball glove, a bat, a couple of sweaters, a small tape recorder, an armful of books. Mark helped him carry the things home, and he now had a new friend named Bill. He was most appreciative of his compassion. During the walk home, Mark discovered Bill was struggling in school and had just broken up with his girlfriend. When they arrived at Bill's house, he invited Mark in for a Coke. They spent the rest of the afternoon talking, laughing, watching TV, playing video games. Although they never became close friends, they kept in touch with each other throughout the rest of junior high and all of high school. Several weeks before graduation, Bill approached Mark and asked him if he remembered that day when Mark helped him with all of his stuff. Mark said he remembered. Bill said, "Did you ever wonder why I was carrying so many things that day?" Without pausing for an answer, Bill explained that he had cleaned out his locker and was going home to take his own life. He had been storing away sleeping pills and was headed home to end it all when Mark happened along to help him out. Bill told Mark how the simple act of compassion inspired him to go on living. He said, "Mark, when you picked up my books that day, you saved my life." Imagine how many times our small, seemingly insignificant gestures of concern may reignite the flame of life and inspire someone to continue on. Compassion has a way of doing that, doesn't it? I want to share with you 8 quick things, and I have no idea what time it is because I don't have a phone, don't have an iPad or anything else. I'm preaching off paper tonight because my iPad was dead. What time is it? 5 till. I got 5 minutes to give you 8 things from the text. Number 1, the man was attacked as he went along on his journey. Sometimes in life, on the journeys we're on, bad stuff's going to happen, isn't it? It's just going to happen. It's either going to happen to us, it's going to happen to somebody we know, or it's going to happen to somebody you don't know. That may be the opportunity that we have to show compassion. Secondly, Two people had the opportunity to help, but they chose to avoid the problem instead of going to the problem. As Christians, we are not called to avoid the problems, nor are we called to avoid the problems of society. We're called to head them on, go straight at them. The Samaritan was on a journey, on a mission, but stopped to help anyway. This is my lesson. This is the thing that I got to take from this. Sometimes as you get involved in church ministry, and I'm trying to think, and we schedule, and we have staff meeting, and got to remember that sometimes all that's important, and nothing wrong with that stuff, but I got to make sure I don't forget people along the way. And sometimes that means I need to divert myself. Fourthly, I told you this won't take long. He got involved, not just from a distance, but he was willing to get his hands dirty. See, he didn't just step back and go, now turn over, bind that. No. Turn over. He was willing to touch the untouchable. He was willing to go and get his hands dirty in the process. See, I think the way church is best work is when more people are willing to get their hands into it and get dirty and be a part of church. And yes, church is messy. Amen? It's messy. And you can get your feelings hurt. Because everybody has an idea and everybody has an opinion and everybody has their way of doing it. And it's really funny to me when we're doing something and everybody comes to me with their way of doing it. Like I'm supposed to choose one way over everybody's way. And I know that if I choose Tom's way, then I'm going to make 7 other people angry. And so it's, it's messy. It's messy. That's all I'm trying to say. It's messy. But we have to do the best we can. We got to get our hands dirty sometimes. And sometimes that means saying, I'm not going to have my way. I'm not going to get my way, but I'm willing to get my hands dirty anyway. Fourthly, the man went above and beyond to help. He was worried about his comfort. He was worried more about this man's comfort than his own comfort. I think that's important. I think sometimes we are willing to help as long as we don't have to leave our own comfort zone. We're willing to help as long as I can sit on the pew. Oh, I can drop an offering in the offering plate and that'll help somebody. Yes, that may help somebody. What will help somebody more is if you drop the check in the offering plate and then show up to actually help do whatever we're doing. And I think it's important. So sometimes we have to go above and beyond the person. I got my evaluation from the hospital the other day, and an LRMC, they evaluate you to death. Your manager evaluates you, and then you got to go listen to what they say about you. And then you have to evaluate yourself, and you have to go in and sit with your boss so they can tell you what you said about yourself. I hadn't figured that one out yet. And then what? Yeah. And then the third one is peer-reviewed thing. So then they have to find 3 people that you worked with in the hospital in the last year, and they tell you what they think about you, and you have to go in and listen to your boss tell you what these other 3 people tell you about yourself. I don't know. It's just, it's like every time I turn around, I'm being evaluated by either myself, my boss, or somebody else. So I had my peer review the other day, which is 3 people that I have worked with in the last year. And I always, of course, somebody has died, and that's why I'm there. And they all said he went above and beyond. That was what the common thing was. He went above and beyond. I said, well, I think job descriptions are the minimum, not the maximum of what you should do. And she said, well, not everybody thinks that way. But she said that is something that is a common denominator with you, is you seem to go above and beyond, even when beyond is not necessarily what people want. So, you just try to do everything you can. And I think that's what we as Christians ought to do. We ought to be willing to go above and beyond. So if, the job description is this, we as Christians ought to set the example here. And so that's what we do, whether it's in school or anywhere else. When, my professor says do it this way, can I do it a little bit better, step it up a little bit to do the very best I can. Number 6, he cared for his immediate needs, but also cared for the man in the future. And this one's tough sometimes, especially with what we do in the church, is I can meet the needs here, and then sometimes it's tough to meet the needs in the future because we never see that person again. But if there's opportunity, we want to help them as they move on. You may have somebody in the church, you may know of somebody in the church that needs some help now, maybe needs some consistent help, and that's an area that you can help out. Number 7, we can change our relationships. We can change our relationships by our actions toward others. So there was every reason why this relationship, Samaritan to Jew, should never have worked. But by his actions, he changed the relationship. And if there's a relationship in your life that needs to be mended, then maybe it's our actions that will speak louder than our words. And so we reach out and do that. You all know that the relationship between me and my middle brother is not the best relationship in the world. In fact, my dad died 13 and a half years ago, and just in the last 6 months have we started talking since he died. It's not that we hate each other. We don't. I love him. It's not that we disagree. It's just that we live different. Church is very important to me, and relationship is very important to me, and that kind of thing. And it's just, we're different. He's 14 months older. And so for a long time, people thought we were twins because he failed 3rd grade, so we were in the same grade. And then he failed 8th grade, and I passed him. So when your younger brother is a year ahead of you in school, and then that younger brother reminds the older brother often of that doesn't bode well. So I don't know. I know. He beat me relentlessly physically, but I could beat him. So then he goes to college and he fails out. I go to the same college and finish in 3.5 years. I mean, it just didn't. He just, whatever. So I have tried to begin to reach out, and he needed a graphic done. So I said, hey, I do some graphic arts, stuff. I can do that for you. So I did something for him. And, just little things, let him know about mom's surgery and kept him updated about that and all that kind of stuff. And then he calls on a Friday and says, hey, you want to go out? I'm going to be in town on tomorrow. And I'm like, thanks for the notice, but I'm working. But anyway, trying to change the relationship by my actions. And that's tough sometimes and when you disagree. So that's one way we can do that. We can love people. And then number 8, Jesus tells us to move with compassion. Verse 33. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. And then verse 37, and he said, he who showed mercy, and Jesus said, go and do likewise. Do as the Samaritan did. The Samaritan showed compassion, so we ought to show compassion. Jesus tells us to move with compassion. Not sit back with compassion. Compassion isn't a noun. It's a verb. It's something we're going to do. A road of compassion. Okay? Any thoughts, comments tonight? Road of compassion. It's been a very busy day. We're going to pray, and then I have a very busy night ahead. If you ordered lunch, or if you ordered a rib, if you ordered one rib, that's tough. If you ordered a whole slab of ribs or a Boston butt, they'll be ready about 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. You can come by any time after 2 o'clock and pick them up. We'll try to have names on stuff because a lot of us will be at the school handing stuff out. We start delivering at 10:30. We deliver at 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, and 2 o'clock to the school. We want to take stuff hot and fresh. So we need lots of help in the morning, if you can help, because we've got to get those meals ready to go at 10:30. As soon as those are out the door, we'll be getting ready for meals at 11:30, and we'll be repeating that process multiple times. Yes, ma'am. That's what exactly, and it is all written down on a spreadsheet. Do not trust my brain tonight. I still have volume or something in me, I'm sure. So it's volume. 10:50. If you can be here if you're going to help, like 8:30ish in the morning. So we will have it all laid out. We'll have it all. There's like 52 meals at 10:15, 50 meals at 11:15. 67 meals at, kind of thing. It kind of goes that way. And then at 2 o'clock, at 1:30, it is 85 meals. And at 2 o'clock, it's all the Boston butts and the ribs, the whole ribs and stuff. So a lot to do tomorrow. We ended up selling 63 racks of ribs, 34 Boston butts, 170 barbecue sandwich meals, and 85 chicken dinner meals tomorrow. So the Boston butts have been on since 9 o'clock this morning. They'll come off around 1 o'clock in the morning, and then we'll start putting ribs and chicken on after that. So we will be here through the night tonight. So that's what's going on. Next Wednesday night, we'll be meeting in the fellowship hall. Monday night is back to school splash. It is Fall Festival on Monday night. We need you here as quickly as you can. 1 o'clock is my goal. It's not out for everybody else. 1 o'clock to start setting up on Monday. So we're ready to go at 6 o'clock Monday night. And that only leaves us about 5 hours to set up. And it'll take a while to get all that set up. And then let me please ask you, please, don't run out after 8 o'clock Monday night. We got to get everything broken down so we can all get home Monday night, okay? So that's Monday. I think we have everything we need. We just need workers to show up. And I know that Kathleen is having theirs Monday night. Gibsonia is having theirs Monday night. We're having ours Monday night. The Little Assembly Church is having theirs Saturday night. So I expected a little bit of an uptick in ours because we're actually doing it on the night that trick-or-treating is happening. So that's Monday night. And then I leave for Alabama. We have fruit market, and then I leave for Alabama. So, what's that? And Dorcas Meals. If you can help with Dorcas Meals, please come see me tonight so I can actually read it. Can I give this to you? If you can help with Dorcas, taking a meal to Dorcas, get your name to Rita, and then Rita, we'll get that to Trish, and we'll sign you up. I do not know when that will start. You may get a 5-hour notice. You may get a day notice. I don't know. It depends on when, the hospital, they may say, we're discharging you today. And I told Diane, we will be ready to go the first day. So it can be something as simple as you commit to pick up a pizza and take it over to their house with soda and salad and chips that you can buy all it and just take it over there. That's fine. And then we can start cooking or whatever it takes the next couple of nights. But it's a great opportunity for us to minister to her and her family, okay? One of the things that Randall asked Dorcas before he died, said, are you going to church after I die? And she said, probably not. And so I got to talk to her about that. And she said, Matt, I just don't like all the rules. I said, well, good, Dorcas, I don't either. So she said, you get rid of the rules and maybe I'll come. And that's a lot of stuff in the past, has nothing to do with this church, has something to do with the church in West Virginia. They abused the rules. And they became pharisaical, and there's a problem with that. So this is an opportunity for us to pour out love upon that family, and we want to do that. So help me out with that. And I think that's everything. We're going to pray. We'll be dismissed. Thank you for being here. Next Wednesday night, we'll be in the fellowship hall for worship. So just remember that. Heavenly Father, God, we thank you so much for tonight. Be with us as we leave this place. God, just be with us as we're cooking tonight and ministering to Miss Haig tomorrow. And I do pray for Dorcas tonight and recovering from this surgery, God, that you would just be with her. Let the healing happen quickly. Be with Diane and the other kids. And all the other names on our prayer list tonight, you just be with them. In your name we pray. Amen. Another issue with Dorcas, too, is the other daughter can't come back because she had just taken a bunch of vacation because of Randall. So there isn't a lot of people to help. So definitely just, if you know her, minister to her. Okay? Thank you. Have a great night.